All right. Good evening, afternoon, morning, whatever you happen to be watching this, everybody. Welcome to the Nevada Trappers Association podcast. Um, I think it's what be first quarter of calendar year 26, something like that. I don't know. What does it matter? We're in the middle of trapping season. It's trapping season. Um, with me today, as usual, I got Neil Cheney, the president of the Nevada Trappers Association, and Tracy Truman. Uh, Neil needs no introduction, and honestly, Tracy doesn't need any introduction either, because I'm well known throughout Nevada and across the western states. But for the purposes of what we're talking about today, Tracy, if you want to take a few moments and kind of introduce yourself and give some context of who you are, what you've been doing, how long you've been doing it, um, and then we'll go from there.
Fair enough. Well, first, thanks for having me. It's flattering to be asked to visit with you folks tonight. I'm a Nevada native, and I've been trapping since I was a little boy. I caught my first cat when I was about 12 or 13, right across the state line from where Neil is, right over in Washington County in the North Hills. And since then, I've trapped cats. I trap a lot of gray fox. Um, I've tried to get better at it like everybody does. I've been really fortunate to hang around some really good trappers. Bill Ilchick, Joel Blakesley, John Sullivan, Joe Bennett, in no particular order. Lots of really good trappers. We're really fortunate in our state to have real good trappers, some of whom have written good books like Bill Ilchick. Some have made DVD productions like Steve Wood. So there's lots of information out there. And this summer, I was going through some video notes and trail camera footage and a bunch of stuff. I keep real copious notes from year to year, my trapping on where I've been, what I caught, what I observed, that sort of thing. And then I try and give a little projection on what I think will happen in the coming year in that particular area, area by area by area. And while I was doing that, my daughter, who was visiting us, happened to walk behind me and asked what I was doing. I told her, and she said, "You should write a book." So I said, maybe I'll try that. And so I did. I sat down and in the space of about 2 weeks, I wrote a book. It's about 107 pages. There are about 100 pages of color and black and white photographs. There is a pretty extensive bibliography in the end for scientific studies and articles about different aspects of bobcat behavior. And what I tried to project in the book, as Daryl and I were talking about before, is it's really geared toward trappers who are already trapping cats. If you've never trapped a bobcat before, there's probably a better book for you someplace else. But if you want to improve what you already do, then that's the goal of this book, is to take you from where you are now to make you a better trapper. And not that I know everything, I certainly don't, but I've had some years where, I bumped right up against 100 cats per year. So I think I've got some parts of it figured out, and I tried to convey that in the book, and it's a culmination or an aggregation of lots of real small points, improvements. And that's basically the focus of the book, to take you from where you are today and hopefully make you a much better cat trapper than you were.
You know, it constantly amazes me whether it's in person or we do these events like this or we do the annual thing, which we need to talk about the annual thing because we're getting really close, and I don't think we've talked about that. But um, I don't think I've run across the trapper yet who's been like, yeah, I don't need to hear that. Yeah, every trapper that I've run into at least has been keenly interested in learning from someone else. And I don't think I've even run across a trapper who's been like, I'm not telling you what my secret is. You know what I mean? It really is a you talk. I mean, you get fishermen. Fishermen will they got their secret spots. They got their secret lures. They got all that kind of good stuff that they keep to themselves. Trappers seem to be a pretty wide open group who are willing to share their information. So um, it's an interesting thing about.
You can say that, Daryl, but I got told the first time I asked for a book that I lived too close to Tracy to buy one. So it took me a minute to get one out of him.
That's the last thing I need is somebody like Neil Cheney breathing down the back of my neck.
Real quick, Tracy, can you hold the book up for the camera so people
Sure.
can see the title?
Sure. It's Mastering Bobcat Trapping, Small Gains, Big Catches. And like I said,
That's cool. That
it's
is cool.
107 pages, lots of photographs. I tried to photograph everything I thought that maybe a wordy description didn't do justice, particularly when it comes to things like picking locations and how to choose locations. I think that's more prone to pictures and visual than it is just talking about where to find a cat.
Oh, for sure. And I would offer, at least in my experience, I mean, 107 pages. Kind of, some people might go, "That's not very long," but I'll tell you, books don't have to be long to be informative. You can pack a lot into a small book. In fact, one of the books that has impacted me most of my life, quite honestly, is a book by retired, well, he's long since passed, uh, Major General Smedley Butler, called War is a Racket. And it was a little pamphlet about 70, 75 pages long. And that completely changed my perspective on life. So I would urge anybody who goes, 107 pages. It's not the number of pages that counts; it's the information contained therein. And coming from somebody with your history, Tracy, that's a lot of good information.
I can vouch for that, Daryl. I've read it front to back twice now and gone back and looked through different sections. What I like most about the book, like Tracy said, it's for people who've had experience, and if you've had a little experience cat trapping, a lot of the things that he says in there are going to jump out at you, and then they're all, I know probably 85% of what Tracy does we've done our entire life, me and my family. And there was a couple of things in there I was like, that, you know what, I never even thought of that. That's a great idea. And it's an easy read. I mean, the first night when I got it, I opened it up and sat down in the chair, and I think I read to like page 78 before my wife started yelling at me to get up and start helping with the kids and stuff. So I mean, it's just it's awesome. It's it's not like a just straight facts. And I mean, it all is. I truly believe, and I know other trappers with big names like Tracy just mentioned a little bit ago that have even said that there's not a person that walks this earth that knows more about bobcats than Tracy Truman. So that book has kind of become my trapping Bible. And I've learned a lot from it, even though I've already trapped for 20 something years. And I
real
learned a
quick,
lot of stuff that I'm trying.
real quick before I forget, because I'm sure we're going to find rabbit holes to go down. But before I forget, where do people find it, Tracy?
So you can go online to, I'll give you the address. It's bobcattrappingresources.myshopify.com.
Okay.
And I sell the book. I also sell visual attractors. So
That's
those
right.
are chucker feathers. I sell 3 different types. There are turkey feathers and junior turkey feathers, small turkey feathers, and then the chuckers. So you can see one there behind me, just kind of doing its thing. I've not caught a bobcat back there yet, but I only put it back there this evening. So I
So
still got hope to do.
this is a sincere question. I'm not trying to set this up for an easy answer. I'm sincerely curious. It, I'm trying to think of the best way to frame this. Like, I suck at fishing, but I suck at fishing on quite honestly because I think a fish is a fish is a fish, and they're hungry and they'll eat whatever comes by them. Which, if you talk to people who know what they're doing, they're like, no, that's stupid. Fish have their preferences, and it just as you were showing those different types of feathers, it just struck me. I would have thought, a bobcat's got to eat. It Have you found it makes that much of a difference? And what in your experience with visual attractors, is it something different? Is it something that the cat expects? Is it an interest thing? Is it a food thing? Is it a combination thereof, or is it both? It just kind of depends on the day, or I mean, why have a turkey feather versus a small one versus a big one versus a chucker?
Fair enough. So to start off with, all of the studies that I've read say that a bobcat's primary food source, particularly Rocky Mountain bobcats, is cottontail rabbits. You know,
Okay.
people who study them, follow them around, pick up their droppings, analyze their droppings, they'll tell you that it's mostly cottontail rabbits, followed by jackrabbits, and then a whole, buffet of pack rats, voles, mice, shrews, whatever else. But in there, and this is my personal opinion, but I validated it with my trail cameras. I'm a huge trail camera guy. Typically, I have about 40, 45 trail cameras going all the time. Cats like the action of a feather versus that of a cottontail rabbit. If you think about it, a bird is noisy typically. They're flighty. They have that twitchy move, and then you contrast that to a cottontail rabbit. They just sit there. And granted, one is a meal, they're both a meal, but you think about what attracts a cat. And if you've ever had a house cat and you twitch feathers at it, there is no doubt what that cat's going to do if you're twitching that feather. The second point is that when cats go hunting, they're like you and I, Daryl. They look for patterns. The studies have shown that when they go hunting, they look for a pattern. It's like you. If you're hunting mule deer, you don't go out and expect to see a broadside silhouette of a 4-point buck silhouetted on the top of a mountain. That's not what you're looking for. If you are, you're not seeing a lot of deer. What you're looking for, the patterns you're looking for white butts, for white throat patch. You're looking for the twitch of a tail. You're looking for the verticality of those legs that you see on the mountainside. You're looking for those kinds that maybe a glint off an antler. You're looking for little pieces of deer. If you're looking for pieces of deer, you're going to see a lot more. So when cats go hunting, what they're looking for a pattern. And if what they see on the landscape suggests to them that that might be food, they're much more attracted to it. So in the summer during the off season, Neil will tell you, I set out a ton of cameras. I think I've told you that. But I've done a ton of studying on my own. Granted, it's unscientific, but I have gotten tons and tons of footage about how cats react to different types of feathers. And you asked me why a turkey, why a chucker. Part of it goes back to that pattern. When cats in our area, at least in my area, now Neil's a little bit different, but we don't have any turkeys here in Clark County other than on the Overton Wildlife Refuge, and I haven't trapped any cats over there.
And the city council,
right? But that feather, that pattern is kind of a universal pattern because it's a wing feather. So any large bird has that is their pattern. But the chucker is a pattern that they have seen before. That's that breast feather. When they look up on the hill and they hear that, and they know there's a chucker up there, they expect to see that pattern. So when they look up on the hill and they see this, they see that. That cues in their mind, I believe, because I'm not in their mind, but I believe that cues in their instincts and their reaction. I'm going to go investigate that. Now, trappers have used tons of different visual. I could take you up in Neil's country, and I could show you CDs. I could show you balls of tinfoil, of aluminum foil. Mm-hmm. I could show you black plastic
lids.
Pardon?
Toucan lids.
Toucan lids. I could show you sardine cans. I show you lots of different stuff that trappers have used over the years because they realize cats are visual hunters. That's why their eyes are on the front of their face and pointed forward. It's because they're visual hunters. And so that motion is something that attracts them. Now, the difference between the toucan lid and the feather is there will come a point in time, cats are myopic, by the way. They don't see well until they get within about 20 to 30 feet of the object they're looking at.
Really?
And in the book, I have two pictures, a side by side of how veterinarians believe cats see, and it's quite blurry, isn't it, Neil?
Yes, it is.
And then 20/20 vision. And so picture this cat, they see movement very well, but in order to gain that fantastic night vision they had to give up something in the evolutionary bargain, if you will. And that was acuity, focus. And so they see movement and they think, well, can I eat it or breed it? Those are its two questions. And so it goes closer to determine whether it can answer affirmatively any one of those questions. The chew can lid, cat probably decides fairly early on it's not something that's going to bring me a whole lot of satisfaction, despite what the Morris Tobacco Company would tell you. On the other hand, a feather still suggests to the cat there might be a bird there. There may be something else there. I better go a little bit closer. And at some point in time, within that 20 or 30 feet, your set construction and your lure need to take over and get the cat the rest of the way home.
So is it fair to say, and I'm really curious to compare and contrast coyotes and cats, but is it fair to say that a cat has a very short attention span? You have to keep it. You have to
Yeah,
maintain it. Once you lose it, that you've lost it, and they're off to something different.
yeah.
Which think about that toucan thing you talked about. That to me, that kind of rings true.
So I think cats, somebody said they have ADHD, and that could possibly be. Frankly, I don't know that cats themselves know when they get up in the morning where they're going to go. That's always subject to change without notice. I follow their millions of tracks in the snow. So that changes from time to time. But in terms of their attention span, I think the real key in their mind is, can I eat it? Or is it infringing on my territory? Is it a potential mate? Those are kind of the three questions I think cats are always probably got going in their mind. And if you suggest to the cat that one of those three things is a possibility, you can keep their attention much longer. The other thing that
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the final thing I put on that is when I get to set construction, constructing your set ought to be something that doesn't take a lot of attention. There are different types of sets. For example, someone who, and I'm not poo-pooing anybody's approach to set making, but if your set relies on, for example, just lure. For example, I could take you up in Neil's country and I could show you tree after tree after tree that has that basic cubby set, right? It's a big prominent juniper. Somebody's built a little fence of sticks and rocks and everything. And at the back of that little cubby, the back of that little corral is some lure. And then in front of that is the trap. The cat has to pass over the trap to get to the lure. That's the basic set. I call it the Lincoln County set. No aspersions to the folks in Lincoln County, but that's what I call it. And that depends on three things. One is the attraction of the lure. So if the cat has smelled the lure before, because that trapper left the lure out all season, he didn't pick up his lure sticks, he left that lure out there, and the cat's come by enough times it no longer is intriguing to the cat. It's like, yeah, I've smelled that 100 times. I don't need to go smell it anymore. Two, it also depends on some weather conditions, because if the wind happens to be blowing the opposite way from the cat, if it's blowing away from the lure, then the cat will never know the lure was there. They can't smell down upwind. And third, it depends on the cat's attitude at the time. If that cat is hungry and the lure suggests a meal, everything works. If the lure suggests a meal and the cat just finished eating on a road-killed deer 5 minutes ago, may not be all that interesting to the cat. So one of the geniuses of the exposed walkthrough set that I kind of advocate in the book is it doesn't depend on any of that. All I'm trying to do is get in front of the cat where he was going anyway, or she, and having the cat step on the trap on its way to wherever it decided to go that day.
So in my mind, there's when I'm trapping or I'm calling, I'm thinking of three things. I'm thinking of visual, I'm thinking of smell, and I'm thinking of
sound.
I'm thinking of something. What was the third one? Damn. Sound. In your opinion, does one of those three outweigh the other, or does it kind of just depend on the day and the cat?
I think a lot of that probably depends on the cat's personality and what the cat happens to be doing at the time. What I've found, I use what are called squeakers. I use their electronic remote rabbit in distress calls, and they go off periodically at night.
Yep.
What I've found with those is I primarily catch young cats and female cats. And I think that's because they're out hunting. Big Tom bobcats I don't think spend as much time hunting. I think they're more proficient hunters. I think they're more powerful. I think they can catch what they want when they want to in good habitat. And I don't catch a lot of big toms with those. I catch a lot of big toms with visual attractors and kind of location. If you want to catch big toms, particularly this time of year, find a spot that's out away from everything else. Find a spot, for example, a rock pile off the end of a long ridge between two ridges. The idea is that that big tom is looking for a female. That's what he's out. This time of year, toms are looking for females. So they'll use those little remote spots to think of them as navigational waypoints. So he comes off of this mountain, he looks out in the flat, there's a lone cedar tree, or there's a little rock pile way out there. That's the next waypoint in his GPS system. He's going to go out there, check that. There might be a dropping out there. There might be a scratch. He'll check that out, and then he's going to go off to the next mountain range. But if you want to focus on just catching toms, those are the kind of spots that you should go look for. Places where there's lots of rabbits in the fall. I like places where there's lots of rabbits and lots of chucker because the toms aren't necessarily looking for females at the time. They happen to be hunting more and that sort of thing. So I think that's a better place.
There's so many rabbit holes we can go down here, and there's so many questions I have. I wish
You don't warn me about your rabbit holes.
I wish I could take notes and talk at the same time, but I can't. So, how important do you think it is? Do you focus more on preseason scouting, or do you focus on finding those prominent features that you think are going to draw cats, or a combination thereof?
I think they're the same question. In my preseason scouting, I'm looking for places that are going to harbor cats.
Okay.
Cats in the plural. I don't want to find a place where there is a cat.
Right.
If I'm going to go there, I want to find multiple cats.
All right. So let me stop you there. What are you looking for?
So a couple things. One is everyone focuses on what are called cat toilets. A cat toilet is basically where cats have left droppings before. I talked a lot about that in the book. I think Neil probably backed me up on that. I think based on all my camera stuff that I see, as opposed to urban legend, most of those toilets are made by females. They're leaving those droppings to contact toms. So think about an area, bobcats live in what John Sullivan always called colonies. So think about 4 to 5 females. They have adult females. They have their own little areas. GPS callers have shown us this over and over and over again. They have their own little areas where their home range and their core areas where they live, hunt, rest, all that sort of stuff. Overlapping that will be a tom, and he'll make contact with all of those females. There may be more than one tom, but his area will overlap all of those areas. And so female A is going to find a place she knows a tom is going to find. She'll leave her droppings. The tom comes along. He'll inspect those droppings. He rarely leaves droppings. Everyone talks about, I found a tom scratch. That's a female. She left that for him to find. And when a tom finds that, his response almost 100% of the time is to urinate. It's not to leave a dropping. And male cats have an adaptation. They can articulate their penis backwards. So they pee backwards. And so what they'll do is if this dropping is under a tree, they'll back up to the tree and they'll squirt the tree or a cliff or a rock ledge, and they'll squirt that. And when the female comes along, she will smell that, and she'll be very, very, very interested in all of that. Did I lose you guys?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, the picture's improved. Okay.
You froze up a little bit. Neil's always a little bit fuzzy, but I think that's just Neil.
Okay. All right. Just mine went black, whereas before I saw this really handsome guy talking, and now it's just black. That's
You're still frozen on me, but I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll keep talking.
Keep talking.
So when that female smells that, she'll be very, very interested in it because his urine has pheromones in it. Pheromones are odorless chemical compounds that the cat can smell with its Jacob's organ, that organ on the roof of its mouth. And sometimes in the video cameras, what you'll see is a cat kind of smile, kind of a forced smile. And what it's doing is sensing those pheromones with its Jacob's organ, just like a bull elk will.
Looks
We
like we
lost
lost
him.
him there for a moment, Neil. Well, he'll come back in. He'll join in here back here in a minute. Man, that's good. What the heck? Now I've lost Neil. You there?
I'm here. I just went to text him.
All right. Just checking it. All right. Man, it. As I'm filling the gap here because I'm never one for. Everybody knows me. I don't do well with awkward silence. Um, I listen to people like Tracy explain what he's doing, and I realize why I suck because I just don't. I don't put
Well,
that much thought into it.
I mean,
It really is a science.
that's what I was saying earlier. There's not another person that knows more about bobcats than Tracy. I've never I know a lot of people that get really in depth and really concentrated, and they know a lot about bobcats. But it wasn't until the last couple of years I've been talking to Tracy. Seeing him at the events, hanging out with him. I run into him once in a while. Um, but there's it's kind of opened my eyes because I'm like, in my opinion, my grandpa was one of the more successful, better trappers growing up here in Lincoln County. I mean, they trapped all winter long, chaining the trucks up to get to every trap. Like, they never let weather keep him out of anywhere. He just trapped hard all the time. And both my grandparents on my mom and dad's side were like that. And uh I learned from them. I felt really confident in my stuff, and then you talk to Tracy, and it's like, kind of opens your eyes. It's like, holy crap! I didn't realize, it's like, most people we talk to that know a lot about cats and trapping know a lot about this section of cats and trapping, and Tracy has taken it, you know, this wide,
For sure.
and has really put the microscope on every single aspect of it.
Yeah,
So
no, for sure. Now, this is if you're texting with Tracy, tell him it may either come in via Edge or Chrome, or potentially he said he had an iPhone. That might be a way to come in. I don't know. For some reason, this is acting up. I I don't want to have to re-record this, but we may have to re-record this. We'll see. And I'm gonna preface this with I don't know if this is quote unquote legal or not, and I guess there's no quote unquote. It's either it is or it isn't. Um, can you? And this is a question. Can you use a camera on a trap during trapping season to see how a cat interacts with it? Do you know
only
that?
only from January 1st on in trapping season.
Okay.
Cameras are outlawed from like August 1st, I believe, to December 31st in Nevada.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation by itself.
Yep.
It just because that would be such a useful tool to understand how it is that either the cat or the coyote or whatever it is you're trapping, the target species interacts with your
Mm-hmm.
set. And
Yep.
I fail to see the harm in that. I do not understand this aversion to trail cams.
Mm-hmm.
Not to
No,
mention
I that
you can catch the people taking crap out of your traps.
well, that's where trail cameras would benefit us a lot. It doesn't. I don't think the trail cam ban had anything to do with trapping. It was more of a big game hunting thing. But it just,
Yeah,
we became part of it. So
yeah, you're getting wrapped up into it.
yeah.
Tracy, are I can see you're there. Can you speak, or is it just your video that's having problems? Hmm. I don't
I
know, Neil.
text.
What, what do you think, Neil? Do you think we should push, or do you think we should try re-recording this on a different day?
Let's keep talking for a minute. Give him a few more minutes
Okay,
and see if
fair
he
enough.
can get it on.
Yeah, no, I'm
But
I'm I'm constantly amazed at like I go out. I mean, to be fair, I don't get in the preseason scouting that I should. You know,
Mm-hmm.
somebody wise once told me, go look for rabbits. If you find rabbits, you'll find cats.
Yeah.
You might know that guy. Um,
Yeah.
I have to admit, I mean, to be fair, I'm not a very good trapper. I enjoy it. I'm not very good, and part of it is busy. You know, life is busy.
Mm-hmm.
Got a day job. Part of it's got a little bit of laziness. Part of it is just, and being part of this group solves this problem, is just the education of understanding just how important, there's Tracy, just how important these little pieces are. Um, yeah. So, all right. Are you on? Are you on your iPhone, Tracy?
Yeah, I'm on a phone. Does that make any difference or?
Yeah. Let me see if I can kill. Here's what I'm gonna do.
Sure.
I'm going to see if I can drop your other feed. Whoops, that was a mistake.
I'm afraid
Yeah.
if I do it, I'll drop everything.
No, you'll be good if you log off on your computer, Tracy.
Okay.
Should be at least.
How's that?
Oh, that's better. Much better.
Okay. All right.
Um, all right. So, because I am going senile, the last thing I think we talked about was uh,
So how
visual.
cats react to
Yep.
what your question was, are you looking for when you preseason scouting, or are you looking for specific cats, cat locations, that sort of
Bingo.
thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I launched into, sorry for all the
It's
wordiness,
okay.
but what I launched into was
People have come to
I'm gonna
expect this out of our podcast. This is part of the charm.
I'm partway down a rabbit hole. Um, so what I'm looking for is tracks, which I rarely find in this
Mm-hmm.
soil. I'm looking for droppings, which I find quite frequently, and there are places that you find them. I have a lot of guys telling me, I never find any droppings. Well, they're good places to find them. Under juniper trees, I don't think I've ever found one under a pinyon pine tree. I don't think cats
Really?
like to dig in those pine needles. I think they stick in their paws, but I've not. I find lion scratches under a pinyon tree, but I don't
Interesting.
know that I can recall finding a bobcat scratch under a pinyon tree. I think they're almost universally under juniper trees, at least in our country. Also, under ledges, overhangs, up against big prominent rocks, particularly if that rock is the farthest away from a ledge. In other words, it fell off and it rolled out on the flat farthest. So that's going to be a great spot for a cat to go and advertise that he or she is available. So I'm going to go look for those spots. In the summertime with my trail cameras, I'm going to put cameras around water sources, not at the water source, but around them. I don't know that cats. My friends tell me differently. All of the sheep guys tell me they've actually got video of cats drinking, and I don't dispute that. I've just never had it happen on my camera, probably because I don't put my cameras right at the water. I put them on trails coming into the water, because in the summertime, cats hunt those areas really hard, because that's where all the bird and the cottontails are. So that's one of the reasons they're there. So once I find those kind of things, I have a little record system that I keep track of that sign that I find, and I quantify it. I give it a scale, if you will. Uh, if I find a set of tracks, that's good for one cat. If I find sets of tracks going in different direction, that's two cats. If I find droppings, that's one cat. If I find droppings of different sizes and different coloration, in other words, this is a long-term kind of a thing, I'm looking for more cats. I'm probably going to put maybe a 2 or a 3 there. Not that I'm going to catch 2 or 3 cats there, but they're in this neighborhood. They're part of that. Remember my overlapping
Overlapping kind of Venn
territory?
diagram of.
Yeah, exactly. So picture in that overlapping territory, there's probably an older female. She's had some kittens from year to year. Some of them have stuck around. Others are out finding their own territory. But generally, you're going to find a couple of kittens that are still in the neighborhood. And then you're going to find, like I say, at least one dominant tom, maybe two, that are going to service those females, if you will. And so once you find that little structure, then you say to yourself, okay, well, I've got a handful of females here. I've probably got a couple of kittens, and I've got one or two males. So in my book, I think in that spot, I can catch X. and I just rack up those, I tabulate all of those spots, and I get to a number where I think I'm going to be at the end of the year in terms of catch. And most years I'm pretty close. I tend to be pretty conservative on what my estimate is. And sometimes somebody else beats me to a spot, or a spot that I thought was going to be wazoo turns out to be a total crank. There's just not anything there. Other spots, I have 2 spots this year I thought were going to, I estimated 3 to 5 cats. I caught 9 in one and 14 in another. So those were, they exceeded expectations. And now that I see that, now that I saw that, I now have reevaluated what I was seeing in my scouting, and I understand some different things. There's some explanations for that.
So, man, I have so many questions. I've said, Neil, you'll have to stop me from going too long here, but
That's what people always tell me. I have so many questions.
I do. So, here's a question I've never had a good answer to. I don't feel like I've ever had an answer that made me go, okay, I get it. How do you know when to stop trapping an area? How do you know, like, all right, I've pulled enough cats from here. I should probably not trap this for a couple years.
So there are some factors that go into that, and I try to farm areas. I try to say I've caught some cats here. I'll let that canyon rest for a year or two, and then I'll go on to others, and then I'll come back. Part of that depends on some surrounding features. For example, does that area back up against the test site, uh, which acts as a natural refugia? So that's an area where cats will feed in from all the time because they aren't accessed
Right.
inside the uh, test site unless
It,
someone's from Lincoln County, and then
it's almost like a
maybe they do.
conservation
But
area for them where they can go and
yeah,
not be harassed.
yeah. So it might be an Indian reservation. It might be a national park. It might be a state park. But is there a nearby refugia that allows cats to continue to filter into that area? That will affect whether or not and how long I let that area sit.
Okay.
If it's surrounded by, let's say, BLM or Forest Service ground, it's a mountain range out kind of by itself, and I've trapped that area. And I what will tell me is my preseason scouting will tell me one, because I'll have an estimate of what I think I can catch. And then if I go 2 checks with a goose egg, I get real itchy to pull that line.
Really? Two.
Yeah, yeah. If I go 3, I'll be on suicide watch. Somebody will have to take away my car keys, because
Really?
I cannot check empty traps.
See, I've always had it in my mind, and again, this is why I'm a shitty trapper. I've always had it in my mind that, like, I'm gonna give a trap a month because I just have it in my mind that, well, one, there's so many people trapping in my area, but two, that they range so far and so wide, and if I pull it too soon, I'm gonna miss it. But it sounds to me like if I don't pull a cat within 2 weeks, at the most, I need to get out.
Yeah, and again, that's there's a lot of ifs and
Yep.
qualifiers, but if you're talking the entire trap line, and so you've got, say, 40 traps out, and if you're not catching at least one cat every trip on that 40 traps, and you've got 2 and 3 times where you haven't caught anything, brother, you should have some better areas that you've preseason scouted, set aside, and estimated that you can do better in those spots, and then move on. It's true that cats have more or less a circuit. Remember that
Mhm.
overlapping? So that dominant Tom, he's going to get around to all of those females, and he may linger longer in one place, or he may decide to go someplace else. And the telemetry studies are just fascinating to me about how cats travel. There's one out of Arizona I thought was particularly interesting. One female cat, they collared it on this particular mountain about I think it was March. That cat took off one day and traveled 20 miles cross country to a different mountain, big rock pile, stayed there until August, September, and then came back. And it did it again the next year. The theory is she goes off there to raise her kittens in the spring, and she comes back when they've been raised. But there's something about that distant area that she finds attractive, safe, whatever it is that she goes there. And so that's a, for instance, 20 miles that's a
That's a
long
ways.
way.
So I have this theory that, and this is just purely the stuff I pull out of thin air. I have this theory that coyotes are pretty adaptable to humans, and they learn if I stick around habited areas, I'm going to get easy food and water. I'm going to get cats. I'm going to get dogs. I'm going to get pets. I'm going to get whatever. Where I have this theory that cats like to avoid habitation more. Is there any truth to that? Am I completely screwed up?
The
Do
data,
cats learn how to live in urban environments very well, or do they avoid it?
so the answer is it depends on what is provided to the cat by living in the urban area. The data, the studies show, for example, coyotes are almost omnivorous. They eat pretty much everything. So if there's a garbage can, it holds all sorts of possibilities, right?
Yep.
If Fifi isn't brought in for the night, there's another potential meal. Whereas cats are much more selective on what they eat. So if, for example, someone builds a new golf course, plants lots of grass, and there are tons of cottontails and quail and chukar running around on the grass and the water in the middle of the desert that the golf course has provided, then the answer is yes. The cat will definitely stick around and make use of that. If it's just a housing development and it's got block walls all the way around it and lots of traffic, yeah, they generally will leave. I have one area just real quickly that I used to catch tons of cats all the time. You could almost never overtrap that area. And then they opened a gold mine there, and the cats vanished. They just, for whatever reason, they left. I don't know that it was the constant traffic and the heavy machinery and equipment that scared them off. And they even, as you know, they develop water sources as part of the mining operation.
Mm-hmm.
The chukar increased. The cats went away. I don't know about that. I don't know what to explain that with.
Interesting. So obviously your focus is cats. Now, do you enjoy to trap coyotes as well, or do you could care less?
Um, you know, I I think there's something that is pretty exciting popping over the hill in the pickup and looking out on a pasture and watching a coyote just spinning over there in a number two Bridger Douglas. I just really like that. Um, and I've had some really good coyote years when I was in college. I remember catching as a full-time student, I remember catching 125 coyotes one fall and thinking I was on top of the world. So if the market is there, I like to trap coyotes. I really like to trap gray fox if the market is there. I wrote a book on it,
Really?
and did a video. Um, so I really like gray fox. I think they're a very cool animal. They're just they have so many they're a beautiful animal, and they have so many unique characteristics. They're more like a cat than they are a dog. They're the only North American canine that can climb a tree. I mean, there's just a lot of things that are cool about
So I've
gray
called a
fox.
lot of coyotes. I've called a few cats. Have you ever called a gray fox?
Oh yeah,
Oh
oh
yeah,
yeah. The little squeakers I have,
yeah.
I've called gray fox while I was making a cat set and put the squeaker down. I've had gray fox.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
I was so Neil knows Kess Anderson, right?
No, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, you do. Anyway, so I invited him one year when the gray fox market was really good. He wanted to go with me one day, and so I said, "I'll tell you what, let's go. Let's get an early start. Let's get a whole bunch of gray fox traps in the ground." So we went out, and it was still dark. I had all these spots pre-marked where we were going to set, and it was still dark. And so we set this trap, and we walked down this little ravine to set the next one. And while we were setting that one, we caught a fox in the first one. I heard it get caught, and I heard it squeal, and then we walked back and took it out of the trap and took it home. But
Wow,
anyway,
That's
that's cool.
crazy.
Wow.
so
Um.
Huh.
All right. So we could go on all night, but we do have to kind of keep this within about an hour's time frame. I'm going to ask you two questions. Number one, what is the best thing you can do, in your opinion? And there's a plethora of options here, and there's no one. If I know anything, that I know there's not one thing you can do. But in your mind, if there's one thing you can do to be successful, cat trapping, what would it be?
Number one, scout more. If I had to fault trappers as a whole in scouting and cat trapping, it would be scouting. They don't scout the right time of year, and I discuss in the book when the right time of year is or when the best time is. They don't scout the right places. They don't scout the right way. And then the second one would be your set construction. I give an example in the book. I got a little bit lackadaisical about how I built sets, and I got pretty lazy at it. And then year before last, I went up to John Graham's Coyote Days in Lusk, Wyoming, and there was a guy from Oregon, John Barnum, did a demo. Very simple. I've seen everything he did. I've seen it 100 times. I've heard it said 100 times. And for whatever reason that day, I just realized why I was struggling, why I had gone from catching 80 or 90 cats a year down to 40. It had nothing to do with the cat population. It had to do with I was getting lazy about how I put my sets together. And so I came home, and this was in August. I came home and I went out and I immediately started making sets with no traps, but I started making sets, and I'd stand back and look at it and I'd say, is this something John Barnum would approve? And if the answer was no, I'd tear it apart and rebuild it and figure out what I did wrong. And as part of the process, I learned a whole bunch of other things I could improve on, and I did. And that's kind of back to the basis of the book. So scouting and set construction, those are the two things.
All right.
It's not a secret lure. It's not a secret trap. It's not a secret place. It's scouting, finding the good spot, and then two, putting a good set in the right spot.
All right.
Those have to do with effort.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Neil.
Those are, in my mind, those both can be lumped into one thing. It's called effort.
Not being lazy.
I suppose.
What's the worst thing you can do?
Oh, the worst thing is when you've flown in from Denver because you're at the niece's wedding the night before, and you get in at like 11 o'clock, and you got traps to check, and it gets to be 3 a.m. and you say, you know what, I should be out there on the bike checking traps. The worst thing you can do is roll over and go back to sleep. You got to get out there. You just got to.
Do you? That which I again rabbit hole. Do you stick? Do you, out of economy of time and space, do you stick to the 96 hours, or do you check more frequently, or does it depend on the country and your experience in that country?
Some of it depends on country. I usually try and make a 3 day kind of rotation. I kind of save that fourth day for, someone calls in at work. I have to go to work and do, some task, or the machine breaks down. I got a flat tire. I got a bad transmission, whatever, all of those things that life throws at you. But I like to keep at least three trap lines going all the time. And that makes basically a 3 day check, and then that saves me a day to put up fur and that kind of thing.
That's a really smart way of looking at it. You're giving yourself a little bit of a buffer there.
Yeah.
All right, real quick before we transition, one last time, can you show us the book one more time, and then tell us where to find it one more time?
So this is the book, and if you go on bobcat trapping resources myshopify.com.
Got it.
And it's an online store. You can buy the feathers, you can buy the book. I give you a deal if you buy the book. I'll throw in some feathers at a discount price.
Sweet.
Whatever, and you pay for it all right there, and it's just like Amazon, only better.
Awesome. Neil, did you have any questions you want to throw at Tracy before we kind of transition to some more general topics?
Neil knows it all already. He has no questions.
I don't have any questions, but I did want to throw in to people who get on and watch, which however many that might be. Daryl, you might be able to see our stats. I don't know how great of a following we have, but for anyone that watches this, buy the book. It is 110% worth it. It don't matter how much you think you know about bobcats. When you were offline trying to get set back up, Tracy, I bragged on you quite a bit about how
thank you.
There's a lot of guys that have trapped for a long time that know a whole bunch about bobcats, and it wasn't until I started talking to you the last few years that like my grandpa who taught me, both of them, they know a lot about bobcats, and they know a lot about this part of it, and and you've taken it to a whole new width of area and just zoomed in on every single area. At least for me, there was a few things that I'd never even considered were in the realm of possibility, and they all make sense. So um, I think it's awesome. So buy the book if you're watching this. It is definitely worth it.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I can't resist my Columbo over here. One last question for you. Where do you see trapping in 10 or 15 years? Do you see? I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit black pilled about life in general at the moment. But do you see do you, do you see it continuing, or do you see people kind of is this something that fades into history?
You know, Daryl, I've been trapping since 1973,
Holy shit,
and
that's a lot of years.
yeah, people have told me all during that time that trappers are headed to the waste pile. Um, and who knows, they may be right, but so far we're still trapping. I think there's some things in place. The BMP program, best management practices. I think they assist. I think they show the scientific validity and necessity for trapping. I think a lot of the wildlife groups have kind of come around to the idea that trapping has a place and that we ought to work together. Fewer coyotes on the landscape equal more mule deer, antelope, fawn survival. That's a good thing. I just think that we're looking at wildlife management in a more holistic approach rather than just I'm a mule deer guy and you got to be out there planting seeds for mule deer and bringing water to them, and that's that, period. That there's room for everybody at this table, and I think we have a great organization in this state. Neil's to credit for part of that is that I think we're very well respected by Nevada Department of Wildlife, biologists there. We have a great working relationship with guys like Russell Wolstenhume, the fur bearer biologist in the
That guy is
state.
amazing.
Yeah, he really is. So, not to pat ourselves on the back, but I think we've held our own. Joe Blakesley is probably, if you had to pick one guy that is as responsible or more responsible than anybody else, it's him. He has the history, the background, the knowledge, the common sense, the logic of this whole thing. Knows the personalities. He's been at it forever. Without him, I shudder to think where we would be. But that doesn't really answer your question. But I really think that the future is actually pretty bright for us, as long as the market continues to make it attractive to new trappers to get involved in the game and learn how to trap and learn how to take care of fur and sell it and make some money from it and realize the benefit and get that enjoyment as well as being outside and doing what they like to do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. For the record, I was born in '75, so you've been trapping longer than I've been alive. So,
Oof. I got shoes I bought in 75.
Neil, did you have any questions for Tracy
No, I
or
want to
comments?
thank you for being here, Tracy. You've been around doing this stuff a lot longer than I have. Not just trapping, but like on the political front within the association, showing up to meetings, showing up to legislative stuff, and testifying, and I know I personally appreciate it. There's a lot like the whole state of Nevada owes a lot to you as well as Joel. Joel gets a lot of credit, which he definitely deserves, but there are some well named guys that have consistently showed up for decades that are part of that, and I believe you are as well. You've helped me a ton since I've got started on this, understanding things, and you're for sure as heck not done with that. So uh but yeah, thank you. You're at every Trappers Association thing. You're always take all your cats to the sale to support the association. Um, you're one of the main strongholds of the Nevada Trappers Heritage and Trapping Association, and uh, really thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That's not sure how much of that's true, but I appreciate it all.
Flattery gets you everywhere.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
all right, real quick, Neil. We got us about 5 minutes left. Not that we're on any time schedule, but just generally speaking, um, getting to be. I mean, it's what 20 January. Wow. So we've really only got about a month and a week till the first sale. Do
Yep.
you have you have if I could speak English, it would help. Do you have details on that?
Yes. Our first sale is gonna have a lot going on this year. I'm excited. Um, we have we're gonna have some demos going, which is kind of new.
Yeah.
There's not gonna be a ton. I'm trying. I'm stealing some ideas from Rusty in Idaho, and I even stole some from Jeremy Watson up there in Oregon with our new fur handling awards. We have stretchers made that are gonna be laser engraved for each species. I
That's cool.
Jake Sylvester up there in Reno's making them for us, and he's even on the hunt for some brass bolts and wing nuts and stuff to really spiffy them up. They're going to be pretty cool. I'm excited for that. Um, this year, since we hosted the Western last year, we didn't hold a state association rendezvous. So all of our yearly awards that the board voted on, the President's Award, the Trapper of the Year, the Hall of Fame, we're going to be giving away at the first L this year, which
Okay.
normally would be at the summer rendezvous. So we're going to be giving those away. We got demos. You'll have Joe Bennett, who Tracy mentioned, very good friend, huge supporter of the association, amazing trapper. He's going to give us a bobcat trapping demo. I will do a fur handling demo. I'm not nothing special, but I did it for a handful of years for people in Lincoln County and did hundreds of them a year. So I can talk my way through how to put up a bobcat. Um, we have Mercer Lawing from I think he's from California, but he does a lot of trapping in Idaho. He's one of the guys
Arizona,
Tracy was talking about,
Arizona,
or
Arizona.
Arizona, sorry, Arizona.
Who
He's one of the
knows? He
guys.
might get to Idaho. You never know.
Yeah, I, I'm assuming he's the one Tracy was referencing that was helping with that collar study in Idaho
Yeah, yeah,
or Arizona.
Arizona.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Rusty Kramer, the president of the NTA and Idaho Trappers Association, going to come. He's going to give us a wolf trapping demo, which I'm excited for. We don't trap wolves down here, but heck, it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm excited for that.
Well,
And
give a
we
couple
have
more years, we will be trapping wolves.
um, and then we have JD Brock. He's a wildlife control officer up there in up in Idaho. I'm not sure what town in Idaho he lives in, but he does a lot of damage control beaver trapping, and he's gonna come down and give us a demo on beaver snaring. So I think
So,
those are gonna be great.
so
Our
it sounds like, and this is honestly a good thing because we're a day $8 short and a little bit behind the eight ball for a summer rendezvous. Are we kind of combining the first sale rendezvous this year? Is that the thought?
Nope, we're still gonna have a rendezvous, summer rendezvous too. I'll update on that after the sale, but
Okay.
uh after our demos, we're only going to have 5 demos. It's not going to be, it's not going to be a mini convention like Rusty does. Those are awesome. I've been up to that Idaho sale and they're a lot of fun. But we're going to have the five demos. We'll have lunch in the middle. We're going to have smoked tri-tip and Dutch oven potatoes and beans and some other fixins along with it. And then
What's the
our
dates for
membership
that?
meeting. What's that?
What are the dates?
February 21st and 22nd.
Sweet, I'll still be here.
So,
I have to run to Texas at the end of the month, and I thought I was going to miss it this year.
yeah. But we will our membership meeting that we usually have, it's usually Saturday night right before they hand out everyone's cards with, results of what they got on the sale. Um we're beefing that up a lot too. We're gonna have Russell Wilson Hume. He's the fur bearer biologist from Endow. He's got a presentation that he'll have for us where um people who are there can learn and understand how the department uses the bobcat jaw data and the questionnaire data that we fill out every year to track population trends and determine season lengths every year. So I think that stuff's really interesting, and I know a handful of people do. And I definitely get a lot of calls of people asking why they need the bottom jaws from the bobcats and what they do with all this information. So I'm really excited for that. Russell's awesome.
Yeah.
Always willing to give us that information. We'll have Mike Reese. He's a county commissioner here in Lincoln County.
Hmm.
He's been a lobbyist for a long time, supporting trappers. Um, he's the president of the Southern Nevada Coalition for Wildlife. He's gonna talk to us a little bit. I don't know exactly what he wants to cover, but he has some important stuff. He's always got good stuff to say.
Hmm.
So we'll have Mike. We'll have Joel talking about our the political front and the future, what he sees coming in the future, and how we can fight it. And um, who else? Rusty with the National Trappers,
You got
and
Steve Ranella.
yeah, and Steve Ranella is going to be there this year, and he's going to give us a
He's the meat eater. The meat
yes,
eater.
No,
yeah,
really, seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
he
Celebrities.
I want.
Besides Neil, there'll be another celebrity.
I
oh
know.
yeah,
So don't let me forget. We need to talk to Jenny about that because that platform right there, I think, is a great platform if they can have a conversation about the wild horse issue. He's got a wide
well,
audience.
um, Steve's plan is to come and do some video and to finish off one of his episodes. I think that he's filming right now, and I didn't want to pressure him a lot and turn it into a work trip for him.
No, no, I
But
don't.
he
I don't
did.
mean trying to record it then, but I would love to link those
Yeah,
two up because he has such
yeah.
a wide audience. And like you were alluding to earlier, a lot of people know a lot about a little bit of stuff, but he seems to have his spectrum
A
of
wide range.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I'm trying
he
to say.
is he's a great guy, and honestly, I truly believe he shows trapping in a great light on his show. All the stuff I've seen him do. So we there's potential to talk about all that stuff. I we're just meeting him. I don't know how, but he's gonna. I asked him if he'd be willing to talk to us during the membership meeting a little bit and talk a little bit about how to manage your public perception on social media. And he said he could give us a couple minutes on things that he's noticed and tries to do. So I'm super excited about that. I don't want to turn this into a come and meet Steve Ranella thing and
Yeah.
ruin his time. And I want him to come and get what he wants done, have a good experience, hang out with some folks, and just have some fun. I know the just in the conversations I've had with him, he's super down to earth, really cool guy. So I'm super stoked about it.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited for Fallon this year. Talking to a handful of fur buyers I've talked to, prices seem to be up. Um, I've heard that they're going to be about like last year, but don't expect like extreme high cats like there was last year, $1,900 cat, and those high cats. A couple of guys went super high on a few cats last year, and basically what I've gotten summed up is prices are going to be about like last year, but don't expect insane prices for the top few cats.
Okay.
So
So to wrap this up, I just want to say provide a little personal insight here is what one of the things that I probably say this every episode, and people are probably like, "Do you remember you said talked about this last time and stopped talking about it?" One thing that has struck me is the fact, not just in trapping, but in every aspect of outdoors activities. It isn't the state. It isn't a small. It is the individual outdoorsmen that make Nevada special and make Nevada successful at whatever it might be, whether it's bighorn sheep, whether it's trapping, whether it's whatever. It's the involvement of the community, which is why I do. I try to contribute my little piece here by getting recording this and getting this out to folks. as well as I participate in the county advisory board. But it struck me few years back that the future we were talking. I asked about the future earlier. The future really is dependent on everybody becoming involved, not just being a passive consumer of resources, but an active participant and planning for the future. So I just want to thank you both because you both are critical to that. You both bring a wealth of experience and knowledge and a ton of effort, and I appreciate everything that you do for Nevada trappers, for Nevada outdoorsmen in general. And I encourage anybody. And to be honest with you, I don't know how many people will listen or watch to this podcast. I assume there's a handful of everybody's got to have a groupie or two. But I encourage anybody who does to become actively involved at some level, whether it's um, whether it's participating in county advisory board meetings, even if you just attend and provide your input, whether it's participating in the wildlife commissioners meetings on a quarterly basis, or it's helping with building a guzzler for Endow. Um, our future really does depend. That's one thing that excites me so much about those folks down south was a win. Uh, their focus on the youth and really developing the youth interest in outdoors activities, which I think is amazing because um, it's not going to be me, it's not going to be Tracy, and it probably won't be you, Neil. That keeps us going. It's going to be somebody who's 10 or 15 years younger than you. It's going to be that, and I always forget his name. That I call him a kid, but he's not.
Bryce.
That Bryce out of Kingston. It's going to be him. It's going to be that keeps us going. So I encourage anybody if they for those who are listening, if you have ideas on things that you like us to talk about, or guests that you'd like to see on, or just any ideas in general, don't ever hesitate to reach out. I think we're all easily accessible, or you can leave comments in the show, however you want to do it. But the next one we'll shoot for April.
March, April. Yeah,
Yep.
sounds
Probably do
good.
a post first sale,
Yep.
and then we'll get some good information. We'll get some good information on the summer thing. I think
Yep.
I who's heading that up?
It's gonna be probably Joe Bennett. He helped so much with Illapah. It's gonna be probably 2 or 3 weeks after Illapah, so I wasn't gonna put it on his plate. We have a guy, the Gilbert Ranch up in Ely, um, offered it up, said we could use his place. We're just waiting on confirmation on what we got 2 weekends. We're waiting to hear which one he'll have us. Um, so we don't have a solid date yet, but when when we talked about it, I talked to Joe a little bit about it, and he threw his hand up right away and said, "I'm here. I'll help." So
Awesome.
we're probably going to be relying on him. I'm working on a few things. We're going to get a raffle gun and a few things set up for that'll be at the first sale, so we can start selling raffle tickets for it right now.
Excellent.
And yeah, there's more to come on that as well, along with the youth expo is gonna. It's. I think at this point we're not allowed to stop having the youth expo. So
It's
uh,
been highly successful, that's for sure.
yes, yes, it has. It's been great. So I just got a uh uh ran into a guy who attended it the last 2 years, and he said his boy they're not outdoorsy people. They go and fishing once a year or something and just play video games and that kind of stuff. He said after coming to the expo the last couple years, he said his boy hasn't even hardly turned on his video games. He's always outside. He wanted all survival stuff for Christmas. Him and his buddies are planning a overnight camping trip where they hike out of town a mile or so and camp out. And so he told me thank you. He said they're going fishing all the time now. So
That's taking
it's
right there.
awesome. I love hearing stuff like that, and uh, so yeah, I'm committed to doing the youth expo every year as long as I'm around.
Excellent. Well,
So
that's the future. So thank you for doing that. Closing comments, Tracy? Final thoughts?
No, it's been a lot of fun and appreciate you guys having me. I don't know that I've said anything worthwhile, but it's been a lot of fun to talk about cat trapping.
Oh,
The only thing I like better than talking about it is doing it. So,
there you go. All right, folks. That'll wrap up this episode. I'll get this thing produced, probably get it wrapped, tied on both ends with the intro and outro and all that kind of good stuff. Get it out the door to probably tomorrow, to be quite honest with you. I am not that far from going to bed. I am tired. So I appreciate your time, gentlemen. And I
okay,
look forward to
thank
the
you.
next one. And hopefully we'll see you in Fallon. I'm gonna
Very
hit the
good.
stop button
Yep.
and then we'll do what we talked about before.
Okay.
okay.